Church here, and welcome to the Game Grinder. Today I'd like to do another pickup video, and if you've been following my channel, as you've seen, it's been about 2 months since my last pickup video. Like I said, it would take a little bit of time before I started to get some new stuff, and sure enough, with it being well into tax refund time, I tend to buy a few games during that period. They actually go all the way back to the beginning of my channel when I first started doing pickup videos. My first one actually was my first one was in like April, and covered like January and February pickups. So I think I'm going to continue with that as I've done before, where I'm going to kind of be like a month behind, just to kind of give me a chance to check out some of the games, and maybe I have some other thoughts and whatnot. But yeah, so let's get started then. So I think the first thing worth mentioning, as you can probably tell with my background, that I've slightly changed my setup. So I hope everything looks okay. When I was recording and testing everything beforehand, I thought it pretty much looked the same, just kind of slightly shifted. So hopefully it looks good. And then if you're interested, I think I'm probably going to do like an addendum to a game room tour video that I did not too long ago, just to kind of show some of the changes. Added a new shelf, extended the shelf over my television with my collector's editions, and then added some plastic bins next to the TV, kind of scooted things over, and I think it looks pretty cool as is. So, but enough about that. What we are here today for is the pickups that I got during January. So, I believe I haven't covered any of this yet. I might have covered possibly this first thing, which is the Shovel Knight Amiibo, but I don't think I did. I believe this came out the beginning of January, so we are all set there. But yeah, Shovel Knight Amiibo, I thought it was pretty cool just because the game is awesome. I actually just finished the game, I guess, with Shovel Knight, and I'm currently playing through the second campaign, or the DLC campaign, with the Plague Knight, which is actually surprisingly similar but different at the same time. Like a lot of the town kind of stuff has changed and the story's changed, so that's pretty neat. Very difficult, but I'm having quite a bit of fun playing through that. So yeah, and then also around the same time, in sort of relation to kind of the buzz that was going around about the Wii U Bayonetta 2 going out of print, just because of the fact that I am a big Bayonetta 1 fan, thought the game was fantastic, and if you've been involved with any conversations about Bayonetta since then, I always stated that I was pretty salty about Bayonetta 2 being released on the Wii U exclusively, because I really wanted to play it. But with all the buzz, and apparently, a little while back, people were saying that Bayonetta 2 was out of print and there wasn't going to be any more copies. So everybody kind of went crazy and bought up all the remaining copies and started, skyrocketing with the price. And I actually got a pretty good deal, so I did pick up Bayonetta 2 with Bayonetta 1. I don't have a Wii U, but I didn't pay anything extra for this, which was the only reason that I got it, because people were going a little bit crazy. And I know there was a reprint at this point, and I'm not like sore by any means, because I'd rather have this version than the one that just has Bayonetta 2 standalone, but this also comes with Bayonetta 1, so I figured why the hell not, and decided to get that. I will get a Wii U eventually, much like when I had my couple Wii games, it didn't have a Wii, but I will get to that momentarily. So another kind of big change with my collection is usually when I pick up games, like say go garage sale or something, I take the games I want, add them to my collection, get rid of the rest. I never really add anything to my collection that I don't want in my collection, and of course I'm not going for complete collections or anything like that. I just want all the great games, all the some of the weird games, some of the terrible games, but my collection is very specific. So one thing that was new to me was actually removing a game from my collection. As some of you know, that I was working on getting rid of my Final Fantasy VII NES demake, the complete box copy, which I did an unboxing video and a review for, so if you haven't watched that, definitely check them out because it's interesting. But I ended up selling my Final Fantasy VII NES game because I just didn't like it, and I wanted to replace it with a couple other games that I've been hunting for a while. The first one that I replaced with my Final Fantasy VII was Suikoden. I used to have this way back when, and you know, like I said before, a lot of times when I moved up systems, I had to get rid of games. So I finally picked this up again, and I need Suikoden 2 still, and then I think Suikoden Tactics, and I'll have all the Suikoden games. And as weird as it may sound, I am waiting to get Suikoden 2, and then I will eventually start playing through the series again. One of my really good friends, that's like his favorite series of all time, and I think he has pretty good tastes. So I played the first one. I liked it, but I didn't think it was great. But at the time when I was playing it, I was kind of not taking my time with the game and just trying to rush through. I don't remember what else I was playing at the time, but I want to give it another go because you know, I know it's a great game and really want to sit back and appreciate it when I get the chance. And the main game that I was looking to replace my Final Fantasy VII NES copy with was a game that I was looking for a few years now, or it's been a while, but somehow I'd never heard of this game, and some time ago I came across, like, it might have been a review or it might have been a gameplay footage video, but I don't remember what it was, and when I saw it, it just kind of like, I don't want to go to the lengths and say that blew my mind, but I am shocked that I never heard of this game, and I never played this game, and I had been looking for it for years for a really good price, and that is Valkyrie Profile. So this was kind of like one of my holy grails, and I had only come across it twice since I discovered the game. Once it was missing the manual, and the other time was for a pretty decent price, and I didn't have the money at that exact moment. And then it was like a few days later I went back to a game shop to see if they still had it, and somebody had bought it. And this game, yeah, it just looks really awesome. I hear nothing but great things about it. There's been a lot of comparisons, like not necessarily to story or mechanics or anything, but just overall quality of the game and the amount of time spent with it on the level of like Chrono Trigger, which is probably throwing up some ridiculous hype that might end up being disappointing, but I am pretty excited to be playing this. I'll actually be playing this once I finish playing through the Shovel Knight DLC, and yeah, so we'll see how that turns out. And then a couple other random things that I picked up. So I have a few like loose disc-based games, and I really don't care to have loose disc games. It just kind of bothers me. It's a pet peeve, whatever you want to call it. So I've kind of been looking here and there for like a case and manual, or maybe a loose case, a loose manual, where I can complete my games. And not often do I find what I'm looking for, but I actually stumbled across a couple that I was pretty happy about. So the first one is Bushido Blade 2, which I have the first and the second game, but I had them loose. So it's great to be able to complete this one. Hopefully sometime soon I can complete my other one. I actually got those from a friend. He got them when they originally came out, and you know, way back then when none of us were really collecting or in that sort of mindset, it wasn't super uncommon for people to just kind of throw out cases and whatnot. As crazy as that may sound now, but it happened, and you know, I think I did that a few times myself. But anyways, and the other one was the Legend of Zelda Collector's Edition, which again, like I said, I had the disc for, and this is the one that comes with Legend of Zelda, Zelda 2, Ocarina of Time, and Majora's Mask. And yeah, so it's just great to be able to eliminate a loose disc from my collection. So then the next pickup I was pretty excited about. It's something that I've been keeping an eye on here and there for years, really. Just never never really wanted to jump on it when I came across it, and lately kind of my interest has been reinvigorated by some kind of crowdfunding stuff going on. But I picked up the Dragons Lair 20th Anniversary Special Edition. This comes with Dragons Lair, Dragons Lair 2, Time Warp, and Space Ace. So basically, these were games that were done back in the 80s. They were full motion video games, but it was all animated, all hand animated, and it was basically just like one giant quick time event. They're not super long games, but they're very punishing. They were arcade games that, you know, just gobble your quarters like crazy. And the particularly cool thing about these is they were done by Don Bluth, or his studio and him. And Don Bluth is a pretty famous animator. He did stuff like Secret of Nim, All Dogs Go to Heaven, Titan AD, and a few others. But for me, Dragon's Lair was always kind of this epic thing that I always wanted to have in my collection, and I never really, like I said, I never really decided to jump on it. And actually recently he did a Kickstarter, Indiegogo, one of those two. He did a crowdfunding. He is trying to make a Dragon's Lair movie, basically a full-length movie, which would be absolutely amazing because just the characters and the art style and the setting are just a lot of fun. It's just great, and it all, Don Bluth stuff really holds like a special place in my life. Like, I kind of grew up on like Secret of Nim. It was one of my favorites when I was a little kid, and then of course All Dogs Go to Heaven is great. But anyways, he was doing a crowdfunding campaign for, not to actually make the movie, because a hand-drawn animated movie is incredibly expensive, and that's why they don't really do them anymore, especially in as high quality of a style that he does, if you've seen any of his previous works. And the initial crowdfunding campaign was to raise money so he could basically make like a trailer, kind of teaser, proof of concept to show to studios to get their interest and get the backing so he could actually make the movie. And the first time, I think he was shooting a little too high for funds on that, and it wasn't successful, but they kind of revamped, retooled things, and then re-released the campaign, and it has since been successful, I believe. And kind of a cool thing about that really got me interested again was that one of the tiers he was offering, the Dragon's Lair on Blu-ray, which I thought would have looked awesome, but you know, it didn't include Dragons Lair 2 or Space Ace, which are other, you know, excellent games. If you haven't seen these, definitely check them out on like YouTube or something to kind of see what they're about. But really cool, really excited about that. The neat thing about this one especially is that this was released in, I believe, like 2001 or 2002, and this is a still sealed mint copy that I got for cheaper than what most people are selling beat up sets for, which is really sweet. I'll probably open it eventually. Right now I'm in no rush. I could easily sit down and play it, but you know, just with everything else backlogged like a mile long. So the next couple games, I actually got through a local Facebook page for gamers. It's the Minnesota Retro Gamer Society page, and somebody was offering up a bunch of PSP games, and I've been really kind of buzzing to complete my Metal Gear collection. I'm still missing a few games, but got a pretty nice deal on these, and that is going to be Metal Gear Acid and Metal Gear Acid 2. These are kind of they're not canon to the story. They're kind of side-off games with like a mixed Metal Gear gameplay with a kind of like card game sort of system. Looked pretty neat, and the second one, sorry, includes the original 3D glasses that it came with all the stuff falling out here, but that is pretty neat. So one step closer to completing my Metal Gear collection. I'm only missing, I think, 3 games at this point, and then I have everything in their original releases even. So then the next game I picked up was a HD remaster, and that is of Gravity Rush for the PlayStation 4. Originally a PSP game, looked really cool, but I wasn't really playing PSP at the time, or it might have been PS Vita or something, but decided to pick this up because it looks pretty awesome, and I will be getting into this sooner. Like a lot of the new games that I've picked up, I have a plan in the order I'm going to play them, but of course, like I said, I'm going to be playing Valkyrie Profile pretty soon here. So then the next lot here was really cool. So I've mentioned in the past before that there is the local Minnesota Retro Gamer Society Facebook group, and we have group meetups like every 3 months, I'd probably say at this point. And usually we'll meet up at a game shop, and everybody just kind of brings stuff to sell, trade, people buy stuff. Really great to get to meet a lot of the local collectors, and yeah, it's just a lot of fun, a lot of great stuff. I usually have to set limits on myself, of course, because there is so much great stuff to buy, and this time was no exception. So I guess firstly, I'm most excited that I finally have picked up a Nintendo Wii. Got a really great deal from We Got Game in Mankato. One of my friends was nice enough to kind of get a deal for me, and it was great because I've been wanting a Wii for a while now. I bought one like a year ago or a year and a half ago, and it ended up being busted, so that sucked. But yeah, the Wii came with the stand, all the cords, and then a black Wii remote and nunchuck, and I have played it a little bit so far, and I've never had played a Wii before, and I'm really surprised at how good the motion controls are. I definitely wouldn't want to use them for a lot of games, but I was playing some like rail shooters kind of stuff, where motion control is really kind of the gimmick, and it actually worked really well. I was really surprised, so I'm pretty interested to play some more Wii games eventually here. And then also at the Minnesota Retro Gamer Meetup, of course I picked up some games. So this first one here is a game I never heard of. Started looking at it, and I thought it looked pretty cool, and I think it's called Kuya, I don't know, Dark Lineage for the PlayStation 2. It looks kind of like a 3D action-adventure game. Looks interesting. I looked up some reviews real quick, and people said it was decent, so I figured why not. Got a good price on that. And then I decided I'm going to start picking up the Onimusha series. These are PlayStation 2, and I believe this was by Resident Evil team or something. I don't know. There was something with this and Resident Evil and Devil May Cry, and somehow this fit in there. But it's basically kind of like third-person action game or whatnot. And I've heard good things about them, so yeah. And then this one has some gnarly stickers on it, but I picked up the original Metal Gear Solid 2. I have the Substance version, which has like the extra bonus stuff, but I figured, might as well get the different iterations of it. And then a friend of mine gave me Wrath of the Black Manta for the NES with the manual as well. And this is a game that I had rented a few times when I was a kid, so it was pretty cool. He didn't really want much for it, and he didn't want to leave the meetup with the stuff that he brought, so he's like, yeah, just take that. And I ended up giving him Silent Hill 3, just, cause, we hook each other up like that, so that was kind of cool. But yeah, that's great to have that in my collection. And then I've mentioned before, and this really goes for all the systems, but I'm trying to beef up some of my Sega collection, because there's a lot of great Sega games that I really, really want to add to my collection, and I usually don't find a lot of them that I really want, or they're complete. And I don't know, for some reason with Sega games, like the Master System and the Genesis, that I just would prefer to have them complete. I'm kind of starting to budge a little bit on that, but fortunately I was able to get a couple games that I really wanted. The first one being a Choplifter. Now, I know this isn't a rare game, you know, it's actually quite common, but for some reason I was never able to find a copy with the box and the manual. And this is a game that I had borrowed from a family friend that had a Master System quite a few times, and I think I might have rented it a few times too. A lot of fun, you know, really simple game, just flying around in a chopper, like, you know, blowing up tanks and buildings and saving people. But yeah, great game. So I got that, and then I got a couple of Sega Genesis games. So the first one being Eternal Champions, which this version is very lacking compared to what it could have been. I believe the Sega CD version is like the full arcade version, which looks great and has some pretty wicked fatalities. This is kind of like trying to compete with Mortal Kombat, but not with the like rendered characters. They were all, you know, sprite based, more like Street Fighter or whatever. But yeah, so that is that. And then this game I know is not a super game, but you know, every once in a while, like, I am affected by nostalgia just like anybody else, and I picked up Terminator 2 Judgment Day for the Genesis. So growing up, when I lived in Wisconsin, I had a friend who, fortunately, he had a Genesis, and I had the Nintendo, and then eventually the Super Nintendo, and basically that was how we were able to play pretty much all the games. But he had a Genesis, and yeah, I got to play through all the great classics and stuff, and this was a game that when I first played it, was, you know, right after Terminator 2 had came out. For anybody who doesn't know, I am a huge Terminator fan. The original Terminator, I grew up on that. You know, when I was a little kid, I loved Terminator. A lot of people might, you know, try to be judgy or whatever about my parents letting me watch rated R movies, but, you know, whatever. I was older than my age when it came to movies, and, you know, it was just action stuff. You know, it wasn't gratuitous by any means, and I absolutely adore Terminator 1 and Terminator 2, and when I got to play this game, I thought it was awesome. You know, we look back now at a lot of these older games, and we see the flaws and see they're broken or whatever, but this game is just a lot of fun, and yeah, just great to have that back in my collection. Well, that will about do it for this first pickup video of 2016. Of course, there will be a few more pickup videos coming up here pretty soon, because with tax refund time, I tend to go a little crazy for a little bit there and buy a few games. So I am pretty stoked that I got a lot of this, especially the Wii. As, you know, silly as that sounds, I know it's not the best system in the world, but there are some games that I've really wanted to play for quite a while, and I am super happy that I got a great deal on that. And again, thank you to my friend and to We Got Game for that. And then, of course, like I said, Valkyrie Profile being a holy grail of mine, I am super excited to play that, and hopefully within the week. Depends on how long it takes me to get through the Plague Knight campaign and Shovel Knight, because it's pretty tough. But yeah, pretty happy overall, and only other things I can think of, again, I am planning on doing kind of like an addendum to my game room tour, just to kind of talk about some of the changes, just because I think it's fun to be able to share kind of like some of my plans, and I'd love to get feedback to know how I could make things look better and maybe organize a little bit better. And then also I want to mention that I am on a podcast co-hosted by Surflin1, him and myself. We do a bi-weekly podcast where we talk about video games and industry stuff, and we would love to have more people check it out and, you know, give us some feedback, let us know what you think, what you want to hear us talk about, and, you know, maybe dispute some of the thoughts that we have. And of course, I'll put links in the description, and then there's also like I have a video where I announced when we initially started doing the podcast. And then of course, as always, you can hit me up on Facebook and Twitter, and links are in the description. And yeah, so I will see you next time on the Game Grinder.